mark about what you're selecting and makes it very difficult to kind of get that momentum swing that you want.
Well, it is time, trainers. Let's get excited and let's start getting into this match here. Round 2 of the Pokemon World Championships. Aaron Zheng going up against Sejun Park. Out the gate right away, Miraidon restricted next to Chi-Yu, as we get to see the restricted from Aaron coming out as well. The Zamazenta next to that Rillaboom. Rillaboom hitting the field here is fantastic because right away you're going to get this opportunity to, right over the terrain, have that grassy terrain out instead.
Yeah, it's a really nice play here from Aaron, having that fake out here to disrupt either of these Pokemon on Sejun's side of the field. The argument is, which one do you choose to fake out, and do you commit to that? Because is there a Farigiraf in the back? If you go for that fake out, then the Farigiraf switching in, it's going to be a wasted turn, and you kind of want to avoid that. The other thing is the Chi-Yu has that Ghost Terastallization, so it could commit the Terastallization there to get some, you know, a Heat Wave, an Overheat onto these 2 Fire Weak Pokemon. So lots for Aaron to consider here. And it's really one of those turns where Sejun feels like with these choice Pokemon out on the field, he's got a lot more offensive pressure going into this turn.
Right away, Rillaboom's not going to be sticking around for a fake out. We're going to see the swap and a little bit of what Aaron has in the back here for the team. And it's going to be this Entei. Terastallization is going to be the way to kick off this match right from the get-go, and we're going to be eyeing up the Chi-Yu. So instead of that Terra Fairy on the Miraidon, making sure that, hey, if there is a fake out that was coming this way, would do absolutely nothing.
Yeah, the one thing that you could say that Sejun could do is maybe go for that Heat Wave and then a Draco Meteor into the Zamazenta. It covers a Terastallization, but we just see a Protect come out from that side of the field, and a big overheat here into the Entei, and they're doing massive damage for a resisted attack as well.
Yeah, considering it's an Entei, that is a lot of damage from the overheat. Of course, you are going to have that special attack drop, so that's going to be something that the Chi-Yu might be eyeing up his swap sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think getting it off the field as soon as possible, but you might want to keep it out now just to try and get some additional damage onto that Zamazenta that's on our side of the field. Nice Protect there to get around any damage, but Entei coming in, taking a lot of damage unnecessarily, and in a pretty awkward position as well now, because if the Volt Switch comes out from the Miraidon, you've got to think that that's probably in range of going down. So do you switch back into the Rillaboom to kind of soak that up, have that fake out once again to support the Zamazenta? But if you're doing that, you're leaving that Zamazenta kind of open here. You know that the Draco Meteor is not a threat though, so Aaron does have the option here to maybe go for that Dragon Terastallization, get some, you know, body slam damage into that Miraidon, start chipping away from his side of the field.
Oh, I think that's what we might just see here, as we're going to be pressing the go button on Aaron's side of the field as well. Zamazenta, that Terra Dragon. Terra Dragon is always such a cool defensive Terastallization, considering against this Fire, Water, Grass core, it's going to be resisted. Does mean that later on you could be susceptible to that Miraidon, but for now you know you are good, and this overheat targeted into is going to be doing negligible damage.
Yeah, it's a really nice defensive Terastallization here from Aaron, and knowing what the moves were locked into from the Miraidon and the Chi-Yu, had a free time doing that. You do see that Volt Switch into the Entei, does take it down, doing enough damage, and then that Miraidon going to be in the back for later on. Sejun can utilize that once this Chi-Yu has done the work they need to. Not really getting much use out of it now, and the Zamazenta has to take a turn. Where does it go? Probably that Body Slam into what was that Miraidon slot.
Yeah, this will be our first opportunity to see what else Sejun has brought to this match. Curious what it is. The Farigiraf that you called out could be a great one, considering it is something a little bit more on that defensive end. I am still personally hoping, I'm patchy, but there is still a lot of really strong Pokemon that he can have. Even something like this Iron Hands could be great. Time to see what it is, though. It will be that Farigiraf, so no priority. But that's a lot of damage still. Yeah,
that's a huge amount of damage there. And because normally with the electric terrain set up, you would have that electric seed activate. You'd probably take that attack a lot better. But fortunately for Aaron, he's just positioning these pieces very well. See the grassy terrain on the field, the Rillaboom now in the back. And he's got the ability to bring that in just to get rid of that electric terrain whenever he chooses to. I think if you're Sejun, you've got to try and get that Miraidon back onto the field and threaten the Zamazenta with a Draco Meteor, because of now that Dragon Terra type, and you've got to try and get that Chi-Yu off the field as well, because really it's not very effective at all. It's launched 2 attacks out. It's going to be -4 special attack now, so you want to remove that off the field. This could be an opening for Aaron to maybe fish for either a knockout onto the Farigiraf with that body press into that slot, or double target down into the Chi-Yu, expecting maybe something like the Miraidon to come back onto the field.
I definitely wouldn't hate getting rid of the Farigiraf. Having that helping hand to be able to enable your partner Pokemon is not fun, or even the foul plays, considering Aaron really only has Pokemon that are like attack heavy. That's something that can do a decent little amount of damage. And if you get rid of that Farigiraf, you do unlock that ability for your own priority. And when you have this Chien-Pao with this Sucker Punch, when you have this Rillaboom with that Grassy Glide, it's something that can start picking off those KOs a little bit later on, especially too if that Chi-Yu comes in fresh later, having already Terrasilize Ghost type. It would not appreciate a Sucker Punch.
Yeah, it's a really good note there to make, especially when that Chi-Yu comes back in. You remove that Iron Tail, you're freed up with that Sucker Punch to deal with that way more effectively. But here it is, the Pachirisu out onto the field, taking a big critical hit throat chop though for its trouble.
That is going to be the focus has broken with the Rocky Helmet recoil on that swap in. Farigiraf, it's going to be going down. So now Sejun gets a free swap into something else. And now this could be an opportunity to bring that Chi-Yu back in, since you do have that redirection and you would still have that full special attack back, or you can eye up throw that Miraidon and just go for some heavy damage, especially now that you've gotten that Terrasalization out of Aaron's Zamazenta.
Yeah, we were talking about the Farigiraf going off the field, that Armor Tail going away, and then the Sucker Punch being an option. But the problem is now you've got the Pachirisu with the Follow Me, so you can't really utilize that attack anymore. Miraidon coming back onto the field, going to set that electric terrain up, and it does pose a big threat to that Zamazenta now with that Draco Meteor because of the Dragon Terror typing. The Chien-Pao as well, it has had its Focus Sash broken, so not as kind of secure as it would have been normally. Miraidon threatens some big damage onto both of these targets.
Yeah, and this Miraidon, notably, since we are seeing the swap over into something like the Dazzling Gleam, we don't have this possibility of something that could just be hitting the whole field here. So you can be committing to something like a Dazzling Gleam instead, but you would have to be watching out for the potential of a wide guard over on Aaron's end. You would be dealing super effective damage into both, and you would make sure the Zamazenta is then not threatening damage on this turn, but that's still a big call to make.
Yeah, and did you just commit with the Chien-Pao to try and remove the Pachirisu, try and remove that Follow Me, so then it frees up your options where you're attacking into, you don't have to worry about any of those redirections. Gonna see that electric terrain going away once again, the Rillaboom hitting the field and taking away a little bit of the power from that Miraidon as the Chien-Pao just protects you. And going to see what the Miraidon locks into, which is going to be the most important thing. Little Patchy going for that Follow Me, pulling any attacks. None coming out this time, and it is that Draco Meteor. Really nice switch here from Aaron. -2 though. Rillaboom taking a little bit of damage for its trouble, but a really worthwhile one.
Yeah, bringing in the Assault Vest Pokemon. Now at -2, the Miraidon would have to just manually swap to be able to get that back. And that's where Aaron can find advantage into this. With that critical hit on the swap, and the Pachirisu has taken a lot of damage, and even if you protect and swap, you can just kind of double into the other slot, and you would have to make so much headway with that Miraidon back going on forward. So a little bit of a dangerous spot, and even eyeing up something like a Fake Out into it, since it is a choice to lock Miraidon, it's a little bit tough. Sejun has to tread really carefully here.
Yeah, and depending on how both trainers have trained their Pokemon, there could be a speed tie here between the Chien-Pao and the Miraidon. Chien-Pao outspeeds it, probably got enough in the tank to be able to remove it with something like an Icicle Crash. So Sejun has to be very careful here. You haven't got the freedom to switch something in to kind of soak up that hit. You've got the Chi-Yu in the back that you really probably want to utilize later on this game. Fake Out coming out into that Miraidon.
All right, so it's going to be the Fake Out, Follow Me. So the Miraidon, it won't be able to act, but it won't get KO'd at this moment. His Throat Chop from the Chien-Pao is going to eliminate the poor little Pachirisu once and for all. A little bit more Rocky Helmet recoil, and Sejun Park now down to his final 2 Pokemon. The little round of applause for the Pachirisu.
And a nice turn here from Aaron, and he's really taking a lot of control of this match, making it very difficult for Sejun to get kind of that momentum swing that he's looking for. But there is hope. The Chi-Yu coming back onto the field, it is pretty healthy. Of course, now doesn't have that support network of that Follow Me, the Farigiraf, so it is going to be susceptible to that Sucker Punch, and it's pretty easy for Aaron now to just say, okay, locking in Sucker Punch into that Chi-Yu, that's probably enough to pick up the knockout. Miraidon, it's down to -2 now. The Draco Meteor is probably not going to get the Rillaboom, so you're pretty safe going for something like a U-turn into that slot to allow a free switch into the Zamazenta the next turn. Once you've dealt with the Chi-Yu, you've got a pretty easy route to being able to deal with that Miraidon, which would be down to -4 with that Zamazenta.
Make it official. Sucker Punch Chi-Yu is down for the count. And only 1 Pokemon remaining here in this game. 1 between these 2 trainers. All down this -2 special attack Miraidon. Grassy Glide is just going to be that little bit of chip, not very effective, but slowly but surely. And as well, the Draco Meteor miss. If it wasn't if it wasn't completely sealed from that moment, well, it sure is now.
Yeah, definitely. That seals the deal, I think, for Aaron. But so well played. Aaron has just controlled this match from the get-go, really, with these well-timed terrestrialization, making it very difficult for Sejun to get kind of any foothold in this game. The Sucker Punch there can be enough for Aaron to go 1-0 up in this round 2 set.
Really, really well played. And we talked at the beginning of the match about how for maybe a window of opportunity for victory, Sejun to get the Terra out of Aaron could be where he find advantage. But we didn't necessarily talk too much about Aaron being able to get that terrestrialization out of Sejun. That was a very first turn terrestrialization from that Chi-Yu to make sure that it wouldn't get hit by a fake out. It's choice item locked. It can't protect. All of a sudden, it's Terra Ghost. The Fake Out didn't even go towards that slot. And it's a Chi-Yu that's just absolutely done for later in the match once Aaron was able to do due diligence, get rid of things like the Farigiraf.
Yeah, and it was a really big, hard commit as well from the Chi-Yu that kind of cost him. And then as we're seeing now, the Pachirisu coming onto the field, not timed as well as probably what Sejun would have liked. Aaron really capitalizing there with that big throw chop and making it way less useful than it would normally be, coming in at full health to support those Pokemon with that Rocky Helmet, with that Follow Me.
I think where it's a little bit tough too is when I'm looking at the move selection by Sejun and these choice locked Pokemon. Overheat on the first turn, a lot of damage, but it was into this Entei swap, so the Entei sticks around for a little bit, and you're now at -2. When we got to see the Miraidon hit the field later on, it was the Draco Meteor that all of a sudden puts it at -2. And if you're constantly swapping and Aaron's just doing consistent damage to those swap-ins, like with Pachirisu when the Farigiraf swapped in, well then Sejun, I mean, you can't constantly be swapping. You eventually need to attack, but if your own special attack is constantly getting lowered, it's not going to help you go too much. So even if we do stick with kind of the same Pokemon going into this, I'd maybe like to see maybe different move selection. If you're already not getting the KOs with these moves, pick something that you can just spam over and over.
Yeah, I think you make a good point because that's it. It's like the high risk, high reward with those moves like the Draco Meteor, like the Overheat, where it does have those big drawbacks of lowering your overall attack power when you're using it subsequent turns. And that's what really cost Sejun because it forced him into a position where he had to switch out. And Aaron really capitalized in those moments where he was punishing Sejun, having to switch those Pokemon out to try and get them back and readjust that board for later in the game. Aaron just not giving him a foot in and really keeping the pressure going. So maybe we do see something different as we get into this game 2.
All right, from the get-go, Farigiraf's going to be leading the charge, so no potential priority option coming out from Aaron. So Sucker Punch off of the table. A little swap up from as well. We saw the Rillaboom led from the get-go last time. Now it's going to be Qianpao next to that Zamazenta. Of course, the Zamazenta can start in huge damage here and does get that defense raise for later on in the match when we see Sejun kind of swap Pokemon around. Maybe a swap could be a great thing to overwrite some terrain at this point, but Aaron definitely has options. Yeah, a lot of options here, and I think not leading with the Rillaboom is really smart because it gives you that flexibility now where you have got the choice to just preserve that Focus Sash on the Qianpao if you'd like to, switch that out, get the Rillaboom on the field, weaken that Miraidon, and then go after that Farigiraf, which could be a real problem the longer it sticks around. It really would limit what you're able to do with some of these Pokemon if you have got the Entei in the back and the Qianpao. If you're wanting to use those priority moves later on in this game, then getting rid of that Pokemon is probably the first point of call for Aaron. So maybe going after it now would be very useful. The one thing you would say different about that game 1 is that it has had that Psychic, the Electric Seed activated, so the Farigiraf's defense will be a lot better. Going to be able to take those and the body presses much better than it did in that first game. It will, but that's where the Sword of Ruin from the Qianpao is definitely going to try and counteract that just a little bit, and the super effective hit is making that Electric Seed look not that great, taking it down to already half health. Big hit coming out from the Miraidon. It's not going to completely eliminate the Zamazenta. That's a hefty amount of damage, and I love the Volt Switch instead because you get this damage, but now an opportunity to pivot and bring something else in. Yeah, it's a nice play from Sejun. You're preserving the Miraidon for a little bit later, trying to get some utility out of this Farigiraf here. You've got the Armor Tail active, so preventing that Sucker Punch. But I like the play from Aaron. I think it's very brave. He's not really worried about getting knocked out with either of these Pokemon on the field. He's got the Focus Sash and the Qianpao. He's got the Zamazenta there. It's a pretty well defensive Pokemon. And utilizing these two to remove that big threat where you would imagine, yeah, body press into that slot, removing it, taking it off the table. Even if Farograph is going down on this turn, the Miraidon going out, you get that good amount of damage and you bring the Chi-Yu in. If you bring the Miraidon back in at this point, well, we just talked about the Sword of Ruin. Well, let's talk about this Chi-Yu and that Beads of Ruin. Those two Pokemon are going to be dealing a lot of damage, and with that Choice Scarf on that Chi-Yu, would have access to spread damage attacks. That's where Aaron then has to play that game of, do I commit to this wide guard or not? But that could be a lot of damage. It won't even be the Miraidon this turn. The Pachirisu has returned.
Yeah, coming onto the field, going to have utility in that Follow Me, just giving that protection that the Chi-Yu needs, because then it means that you don't need to commit to that Terrestrialization. You keep that Dark and Fire typing, because the Chien-Pao is not really threatening you too much. There's no Sacred Sword on that side of the field. And the big threat from that Body Press, you can pull into the Pachirisu, you can get some good damage and fire back with a Heat Wave, which is going to do super effective damage, probably pick up the Zamazenta and take that Chien-Pao down to its Sash. Also makes it difficult to bring the Rillaboom onto the field in this situation, so really nice play from Sejun, kind of putting that pressure a little bit further onto Aaron to make some sort of decision here.
What's at least nice from Aaron, with having so many Pokemon that can protect, he can go and protect both of his Pokemon on this turn and scout out what this Chi-Yu wants to do and what it locks into. If it was a Heat Wave, you could have clicked Wide Guard the next time around, but instead, now you got that confirmation, it is the Overheat. The Pachirisu, an attempt on the offense here, Super Fang hitting into the Protect. Now that your choice locked, play around that a little bit, but at the same time, an Overheat can do a lot, and the Zamazenta would surely fall.
Yeah, definitely fall, but you probably the one thing is it's so low health at this point. Do you say, okay, well, I'm going to sacrifice my Zamazenta. I've got two Pokemon in the back. They can come in and maybe do a decent job, or do you preserve that Zamazenta, maybe switch it out and try and get some decent damage with that Chien-Pao onto the Pachirisu, onto that Chi-Yu. Problem doing that, if you go into the Pachirisu, you're inevitably breaking your Focus Sash because it has got the Rocky Helmet, so it does make it a little bit awkward. The way that Sejun is kind of positioning these Pokemon right now, making it very difficult for Aaron to kind of get that momentum swing or that control that he had in that game one. So really well adjusted from Sejun.
It's going to be the Follow Me, coming on out, no Terra, but redirecting all of the hits, being the center of attention as if it wasn't already, as Overheat from Chi-Yu hitting into the Chien-Pao, going to be bringing it right down to Sash. Now this Pachirisu is going to be taking a barrage of hits coming on out from both of these Pokemon, starting off with this Icicle Crash. Good chunk of damage, bringing it just down below half. The Body Press is going to be finishing it off. Critical hit. We're not enjoying this Pachirisu here. It will be a little bit of chip damage, but all of a sudden, Sejun down to final 2.
Yeah, and the nice thing about the Icicle Crash there, not a contact move, so the Chien-Pao keeping that Focus Sash, although taking a Overheat for its troubles. But the Chi-Yu now down to -2, so not going to be hitting as hard for the things that are in the back for Aaron. Aaron really looking on these last legs with these two Pokemon out in the field. But you've got to imagine the Chien-Pao probably got the ability to get at least one Sucker Punch off, but it's not really going to be very effective into that very Terra typing of the Miraidon, and you're not going to be able to get much use out of the Zamazenta just because of the speed jump that Chi-Yu has.
And even here, you don't have to get too far ahead of yourself if you don't want to. We do have the possibility, since you know it is Choice Out on the other end, to go ahead with the Double Protect and just get that confirmation. The Miraidon, since we do have the Dazzling Gleam, it can go for these spread damage attacks as well, and you definitely don't want to be disrespectful of that. Chien-Pao is going to be the one protecting on this turn, as Aaron opted not to go and protect the other, but it is going to be a good call with the Chi-Yu first attempting to hit into that Ice Cat. Miraidon, Electro Drift time, hitting into these Zamazenta, already brought so low, gonna take care of the other restricted.
Yeah, really nice play here, and then big knockout, taking the restricted down on Aaron's side of the field, locking in with that Electro Drift. A nice play as well. I think the one thing that we would say about Aaron is he's really managing this game well, in the fact that he's protecting at the right times, like you've mentioned, to scout out what these choice Pokemon are locking into, because once you know what they're locked into, it makes a decision about switching, about what you bring in at a certain time, or what move you lock into a lot easier. So we are going to see the NT come onto the field now, and it is going to threaten with extreme speed into both of these Pokemon. Whether or not Aaron decides to go for the Terrestrialization here, he has got it as an option though.
What I really like too about protecting the Chien-Pao and that preservation is, since we are on the attack heavy end for Aaron, it is something that you can do more and more damage. So you sack off your Zamazenta, you get this fresh Entei in, Terra Normal, this extreme speed is going to do a lot of damage combined there with that sort of ruin and the extreme speed coming on out. Since the rationalization already spent for Sejun, you know that she is not going to be safe, and that's going to be a clean one-hit KO.
That is a huge knockout onto the Chiyu here, and like you say, that sort of ruin intact is so useful here. The Sucker Punch coming out from the Chen Pao. That do respectable damage, not super effective though, more resisted, and the Electro Drift coming out in return from the ride on into the Entei.
With one-hit KOs across the board, I think we might be a little out of steam when we're looking at Sejun's end, but the Miraidon definitely put in as much of a fight as possible. It's going to be finally time for your electricity to disappear if it wasn't going to already, as the Rillaboom, the fourth final Pokemon for Aaron, will finally be joining. The Assault Vest getting that Grassy Surge. You got Mako Pressure on this turn. We can just hit whatever we want with this Chen Pao. We should be able to lock this up.
Yeah, and you've got the Fake Out here, which is going to be really useful in preventing you from attacking this turn. It gives the Chen Pao a free turn. Going for the Throat Chop here, not the most effective attack. You could lock into the Icicle Crash, but Aaron being sensible here, doesn't want to take the risk of an Icicle Crash missing and allowing maybe Sejun back into this game. The Electric Drift is still a big threatening attack. It hasn't got the boost from the Electric Terrain anymore, but you still need to close this up as sensibly as possible, and exactly what Aaron's done throughout this match with the Rillaboom, with that Assault Vest. Going to be in a really great place to do that.
The Grassy Glide's almost there, but the Throat Chop is going to be the one to seal the deal. As Aaron Zheng, the return to the big stage, is going to be claiming this set in a 2-0.
Absolutely incredible play.